got some members of the media milling out and about as well. Keep your eyes peeled for our Adam Bernstein and Michael Caine cruising around somewhere out there. You see, that's one of the black Teslas that'll help transport the astronauts and cosmonaut out to the pad. Their family now is entering. Of course, they're keeping them as cool as possible, so bringing them out now just before the astronauts come out of the O&C. If you head over to our Twitter account or X account, you can see a trio of photos that Adam captured of the license plates for the Teslas that'll be transporting the Crew 11 team.
Something that we haven't done before.
Typically, with the previous missions, we've seen SpaceX work the number of the mission into the message on the license plates. However, they took a different tack this time around, going with
as you can see on your screen
and launch. Once the crews board the Tesla vehicles, they have about a 20-minute ride from O&C out to Launch Complex 39A.
In Tesla automobiles. And they'll be scooting on over to the launch tower. And then they go up a 30 or 40-story office building kind of a situation.
Taking a look back at our live chat, want to thank Mark Pachotnik for gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you so much for your generosity. And to our newest gifted member, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Mark in the live chat if you haven't already. And we hope you decide to stick around with channel membership.
Epidemic sound instrumental.
Also want to welcome back Gunnar S. joining us with membership once again at the pad leader level. Glad to have you back on board.
But you're also hearing the feed from the Kennedy Space Center.
As we're currently about 3.5 hours away from liftoff, the
SpaceX
teams with SpaceX have actually been getting parts of the rocket ready well in advance of the crew's arrival. Not just the, of course, team, the advanced team that headed out to the pad in order to start making preparations in the White Room at the end of the crew access arm. But also given how hot it is and the fact that that played a role in the static fire attempt and the static fire on Monday and Tuesday, respectively. They're doing a little bit of early conditioning there at the pad, hours in advance. Currently, it is about 83 degrees right now as we're
3 hours
just
and 34
past 8:35 a.m. Eastern.
We're not going to be around
12:35 UTC for those around the world. Feels like temperature currently 87 degrees, so it is once again a
that all looks
hot
like.
and muggy morning here on Florida's Space Coast. Temperatures will climb to about 92 degrees Fahrenheit by the time we hit launch this afternoon. Liftoff for those who are just PM Eastern, 16:09 UTC.
We'll just slide him over for the time being. While they get themselves loaded up into the launch vehicle. I can always pull them out and take a little peek. It's amazing. I got a lot of A lot of technology that's floating through here. I got wires going around. Yes, sir. Go figure, huh? August 1. It's Friday. TGIF. These guys are going to be flying around. They're going to the International Space Station. Good morning.
Taking a look back inside the Neil
Well,
Armstrong
it's a little
Operations
cold.
and Checkout building.
So,
Got a nice view of some
every
of
once
the
in a while I got to
artwork
check out
that is
and
adorning the walls there.
take care of my
Very soon we'll see the
you know,
Crew 11 team make their way
Little
out of
cough
the
and
suit up
cold
room,
and
walk down that
take
hall
care
and
of
into the elevator.
you don't
It'll
want to hear
be
that.
on
So,
door watch for them to
I turned
come
the
out
mic
and start
down and
greeting their family and friends. Wonderful
take care of
timing there.
myself so I don't
You can see the cameras just by the walkway overhead.
I can
Cameras trained on the
put that
door.
out of the way.
That is on the other side of that
Yeah.
ramp that you see on the right-hand side of your screen in the big box just beyond the Teslas.
This is a little. Good morning. This is taken at Friday morning. You see, you just pull up on the photo at 6:36 a.m. Wow, lots happened since then. Yes, sir. Whew. Nine million pixel image. You see that right there? 4,000 pixels by 2,200 pixels. It's a JPEG image. It's zoomed at 120 millimeters at f2.8 and 1/150th of a second. That's a relatively calm shutter speed. You can see the ocean out there. It's amazing. A little strip of the ocean. And that sun is coming up right. It is the top of it is just coming over the horizon. Yeah, it moves quickly. This was taken at 6:49. Now watch what we can do with that. Let's open up.
Taking a look at those Live, Laugh, Launch license plates that I was just mentioning. All right, Bernstein
Soundtrack
got a
of
couple of nice photos
going
of
on.
those, so you can check
SpaceX
those out on
make
both
us totally
his as well as
confused.
the Spaceflight Now X accounts.
Let me get closer to the
Just under
microphone
3.5
here.
hours to go, we should be
So we're
seeing
going
the
to
astronauts and cosmonauts
the
of Crew
image
11
edit.
making their way out of
And
the
we're gonna go down
O&C
here to where
in the next few minutes.
I took the last. There we go. And we're going to go to. Well, we might as well, since we're here, let's go to the crop, transform, balanced photo, just to square off those. And I can come up here a little bit because seeing the rooftop there doesn't really help much. And we want to stay on that side of that building. There we go. Now we'll come over here to adjustments and the dehaze, because we take out the haze and all of a sudden, yeah, it kind of looks like it's supposed to look like. Just like that. Yeah. Because I took the picture and I know what it looked like. You see the bird over there on on the right side. Yeah. He's flying around. We got a little aviary going here. And so we want to come over here and reduce a little noise. And we want to increase the clarity a little bit because those clouds need to be a little darker. Just like that. And then we're gonna say that's all we want out of this program. It's been saved. We'll close that. We'll close this. I'm trying to keep track of where I am. Where are you? So there's the bird. He's a big bird. He looks like a big ass. Whoops, big crow. So we need to looks like this is the latest. No bird. We got the bird. So now we're going to and we're going to hit this little toggle up here in the upper right hand side. Touch that. All right, we'll leave that alone.
Time now, T minus 3 hours, 25 minutes, 28
6:49.
seconds, and counting. According to the timeline of things for the mission today, the crew is expected to depart for the pad coming up about 6 minutes or so before the top of the hour. The hour in local time, not referencing the countdown in this particular instance. Typically, we would have seen the astronauts and cosmonaut come out of the ONC by now in order to keep that timeline. Obviously, they don't want to have the astronauts out in the Florida heat any longer than they absolutely have to be. So there may be some bottleneck somewhere in the process here. We're waiting for the comment, of course, from SpaceX and Mission Control to add.
On countdown, advanced team has in the White Room. This is approximately 15 minutes behind schedule. They have until T-minus 2 hours and 43 minutes per the green light time, so we have margin.
I'm zeroing in on the
It's as if their ears were burning. And there you see Zena Cardman, Mike Fink, the commander and pilot, walking down the hall. Kimia Yui and Oleg Platonov, the mission specialists, boarding the elevator, flanked by Joe Akaba and crew.
Cape Canaveral. So we want to
getting ready to head down and meet their family and friends
one
last time before making their way out to the pad.
Staying in a place right there.
Of course, as we just heard, things are running behind in the White Room
house up there
at the end of the crew access arm.
So
hopefully teams will be able to catch up on the work that they have ahead of them in order to allow for a good launch today.
Just see. I'm going to put the crosshairs on Cape Canaveral and just back up a little bit because we have
the White Room that I was just referring to. That's at the
3 hours
end of the crew access arm that you're seeing there in the skinny box on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a live lookout at the pad at Launch Complex 39A.
Yes, sir, Bob. There seems to be...
Here's the reverse shot of that. Around. You can see the black stripe is actually not a black stripe. Those are just windows with the lighting in the
Why?
distance make it look solid.
Cape
But
Canaveral,
at the end of that hallway is where the White Room is located, just
keep my eye
outside
on
of the Dragon
which
Endeavour
way they're coming.
spacecraft.
It takes a while to reload the satellite imaging. There we go. Looks like the air pattern is going from west to east over Titusville and Cape Canaveral. Finally, Titusville showed up on it. That's actually, anyway, the Cape is what we're interested in. So I'm going to zero in on the Cape. Yeah, just so you can. This is. There's only so much detail you can pick up on these things because this is the weather satellite business. Yeah, this is
Core
It's
on
over
countdown.
here.
Side hatch is opened. This is approximately 15 minutes behind schedule. We still have margin to our
This
T minus
view is
2
around-
hours, 38
I'm
minutes.
up about 10,000 feet. Look at
green light
this.
time.
But right where the crosshairs are, that's where they're. This is launching from pad 39A. And they are improving that pad 39A. Apparently, SpaceX has leased that for, I think, I read somewhere, 15-year lease with the state of Florida or through the state of Florida.
And there you see the crew of
And they're-
Crew 11
They're up there working on that.
coming out to adoring
Location.
friends, family, and fans.
Core on countdown.
So they can be
Walkout is underway
launching
on
and
schedule.
catching.
From
You
left
know,
to
this-
right, you see mission specialist
the
and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov.
Mars,
Mike Fink now in the
Space
foreground.
program.
Kim Yui now closest
Which
to us
is
here
in,
from JAXA.
Boca Chica,
And
Texas.
Commander Xena
And
Cartman,
they're going to have a duplicate
who is on the
launching
far end of the row.
pad situation from,
This, as with every
Florida,
crew mission,
Cape
is a
Canaveral.
well choreographed
and they're going to
movement. Everything
they're gonna
is well
manufacture
timed,
the
and of course
rockets
they've got margins
in
to
Boca
play
Chica.
with, as you just heard.
and
Even though
then
the White Room is running behind, they do
truck them
have
over,
some
put them on a
latitude
barge,
there.
sail them across.
It looks like Xena
The Gulf
Cartman
of
is supported
America.
by one of her 2017 astronaut
And
class
then pick them up
crewmates.
to Tampa,
Those
and
looks like
then
Jessica
truck them on
Watkins
over here to
of the Turtle class.
Cape Canaveral. That's the plan. Towards the end of this year.
The 4 members of Crew 11 have a few minutes here
Hopefully
to
they can get everything
give some final
cleaned up by
well
then.
wishes to and from their family and
let's
friends
see
there,
what's
who,
going on here.
of course, are the closest
Let's,
to those barricades, the closest that
take a
they're
look at
able
what's
to
going
get
on
right
here.
now in
Be
order to
quiet for
keep
a
the quarantine protocol. You can see those family and friends sporting the Crew 11 t-shirts. If you head over to our merch shop, which is shop.spaceflightnow.com, you can find the Crew 11 mission patch available to buy, with members getting a discount. And yes, that is Jessica Watkins there with the glasses taking cell phone pictures for Xena.
They're getting ready to load up into the Teslas. Of course. Elon Musk, they get in their Teslas. They were white. Now they're black. And loading up. two-berth vehicle. Notice they were engineered by SpaceX for their space capsule, and they're very similar seat that we have in our Model Y car. So that's why those astronauts fit right in those seats very nicely. How cool is that?
One last wave from Xena as the Tesla doors close. They'll then roll down the windows, allowing the family members to get just a little bit closer for one final goodbye in person.
They're going up to the space station for like
The team are set to spend
6 months.
not only 6 months is the current plan, but could spend up to 8 months as NASA and crews are determining an extension of this mission out to 8 months to more closely match what Roscosmos is putting into motion with its Soyuz missions.
After 8 months, your body gets so degraded, you come back like an amoeba.
And it looks like with the gentleman with his back to us in the suit with the sunglasses, that looks like the profile of Sean Duffy, who's the acting NASA administrator. He's also currently the Secretary of Transportation, one of a number of officials with multiple hats. Of course, Jared Isaacman was nominated to assume the administrator role, but had his nomination pulled before the full Senate could get a vote. He was voted favorably out of committee by a 19-9 vote. TBD on when the president will nominate a new NASA administrator, someone to permanently fill this position.
Oh, Sean Duffy's there. The new NASA administrator. Trump said, do both. He's going to wear them out. All right, now they're starting to roll.
As you see, the Teslas are now rolling out. The crew is making their way out to the pad at Launch Complex 39A. As the crew gets in motion, we're actually going to get in motion ourselves as we've got our first...
Lyoseals are removed and installation is complete. This is about 10 minutes behind schedule. Again, we have plenty of margin to our green light time. Team is making up time.
It's 9:30.
Teams have made up about 5 minutes in the delay that they were experiencing. They were 15 minutes behind, now just 10 minutes behind, so starting to get some pep in their step as we see these helicopter shots of the crew making their way from ONC out to Launch Complex 39A. We're going to pause our commentary for just a moment here as we're getting set up for our first live interview of the day. You're watching live launch coverage of the Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station from Spaceflight Now.
Well, there we go. I guess he told us, huh? So we'll keep that image in the background there. Pick up. There we go. So we got more stuff going on here than Heinz got pickles. Yeah. They're driving out. Oh well, we may as well get back to It's not that far a drive, but they're trying to catch up. They're going to drive right up next to that tall building next to the Falcon rocket. These are roads that are only driven on by Space Center crew, employees, deliveries. Now they got themselves a divided highway, and they're scooting along. They're looking at a military vehicle in the very back, just in case, some enemy. That's equipped with laser cannons. Yeah, I noticed they had some laser cannons on top of that sucker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got flashing lights. This is, they're moving. We're moving pretty quickly. They certainly don't have a traffic jam. Checkpoint Charlie. There you go. A little bit of a full screen view in case if you're not spacified, you're gonna get spacified if you're gonna hang around here. This is an experiment that we can kind of watch this in the background. It's a longer drive than I thought. I'm watching over on the side of my control panel because I'm getting a transcript of what they're saying. Picking up the pace a little bit. You can see there's the armored vehicle. Oh yeah, they got troops in there too. They pop out with their machine guns. Their M16s or whatever they're carrying nowadays. It's a pretty close helicopter zoom in there, so it's hard to tell. How far they're away from the actual launch pad, or now now you're in one of the vehicles. Well, you can get an idea of, you can see a helicopter in the mid left-hand side of the image. That's a chase helicopter flying parallel with those two Teslas that have the crew members. You can see the NASA Space Assembly Building to your on the right side, the big rectangular building next to the crane. One of the few cranes that are erect. Most of those cranes have gone down, so they don't get blown over by the. So you can see that towering. They're going to come around here, and they're going to loop around this way, and then they're going to make you see another chase helicopter. Yeah, they're watching these guys from every angle. They're going to make a left-hand turn up here pretty soon, because there are a lot of people in that building, as you can see. You got NASA people, you got SpaceX people. They got to make that right turn. Excuse me, a left turn coming up. Should be a left turn coming up.
And welcome back to
over to
Spaceflight
that
Now's live
tower.
coverage of the Crew 11 mission,
Yeah,
where
gotta get
things here at
past
the
that
press
one.
site have gotten just a little bit louder.
And then
As you
keep
can
on
hear
going.
and probably see on the live chopper, we've got the astronauts that are coming by the press
Hang
site
on,
right now. As we
I'm gonna zoom
turn, we
around
can see
to the
them
left here.
coming by the VAB. Some of the advanced security has just gone by.
There's a helicopter
And we've got,
right
of
above
course,
the road.
the lead Tesla, followed by the one that contains NASA astronauts Zena Carmen and Mike Fink, the commander and pilot of the Crew 11 mission, followed by Oleg and Kimia, who are the mission specialists that are in the second vehicle. They're about halfway out to the pad, maybe a little bit more at this point in time, and so the mission is progressing
Yeah.
well as the crew is about to get to see their rocket. It's of course launch day, so this will be the last time that they get a really good look at it, hopefully, if all continues to go well, before liftoff. And as the crew continues to progress towards the pad, we're going to progress our conversation about this mission, and we're joined by a wonderful guest right now. We have Mr. Steve Sysloff representing the Commercial Crew Program. And Steve, of course, you know these folks quite well that are about to get on this Falcon 9 rocket and the Dragon spacecraft. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be here, Will. Wonderful crew. You know, Zena and Mike, Oleg and Kimia, they all bring such a unique history that they've built up personally, and they're taking it up on this mission. They're really a unique crew. Oleg and Mike, I think that's going to be a joke off. I don't know how Zena and Kimia are going to handle that, but you know, they're keeping it light. This is Mike's fourth flight to space. He's flown on Soyuz. This is first time on Crew Dragon. He can fly Starliner, and of course he flew shuttle back in the day. So, you know, it's a good group, very diverse experience, and I think they're going to pay off for the next 6 or 8 months.
Going from one endeavor to another for Mike, so it's kind of a nice full circle moment here. You know, just staying on Mike Fink for a moment, you know, given the fact that he has this extensive experience both with Soyuz and with shuttle, and spent, you know, the last, more than a decade helping to mature and grow the Commercial Crew Program. Obviously, you've gotten to work with him especially closely. What has he really brought to the table from the astronaut office perspective that has allowed, you with the Commercial Crew Program office to really get a better understanding of these vehicles and how the astronauts need to interact with them?
The flight crew perspective means so much, and what Mike brings is he knows the different ways that different systems have worked, and what those different systems require of the flight crew, and what does the flight crew require of the systems. You know, a Soyuz and a shuttle, completely different vehicles, couldn't be more different. And when you're looking at the next generation of spacecraft, whether it's the SpaceX Dragon or the Boeing Starliner, you know, they have different, each one is the product of individual company cultures as well. But what you have with Mike was that whatever it does, it has to do this. Whatever else, or however it gets there, we have these requirements. And that's really, broadly, the Commercial Crew Program has a set of requirements for the spacecraft. And what Mike is able to provide is that really drilled down, what do you need when you're sitting right there in the pilot seat, when you're sitting in the commander seat? What do we expect the spacecraft to do? What is nice to have, what has to be there? And it's couldn't be more valuable.
And of course, this is Zena's first flight, but sort of giving an example of the benefit of having, dissimilar redundancy with these two vehicles. Talk about the importance of being able to have someone like Zena pivot so quickly from Crew 9 to Crew 11 as you were accounting for some of the hiccups that came along with Starliner.
Yeah, really, Zena is such a top-class individual, brings a lot of different experience, Antarctica trips and everything like that, and really what she's learned, I think, and kind of the way it's been described by different folks who know her really well, is someone who's very flexible, very adaptable. She had been commander of Crew 9 when the mission operations changed and the mission needs changed. She was able to float right up into, so to speak, this Crew 11 position. She did give up her commander seat on Crew 9. That was so that Butch and Sonny, who were up, who had gone up on Starliner, could come back on that Crew 9 mission. But now she gets to live that first flight experience. We're getting ready for her to launch for her very first time. And everyone who has worked with her really speaks to her very high caliber adaptability when it comes to that.
And of course, this is a Dragon flight day, but work still continues on the Starliner, just a little bit down the road at the C3PF, the Commercial Crew and Cargo Processing Facility, right?
Absolutely. We've wanted from the beginning for there to be at least two different spacecraft. We have those. With Dragon, we're on our 11th crew rotation mission, 12th flight overall, including Demo 2. So with Starliner still in development, still doing the test flights. We had the crewed flight test with Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, and right now it's a summer test campaign. There's always going to be things that you have to work out when it comes to these spacecraft, especially ones that carry people. And it's so that work continues, and then we'll see what's next for Starliner.
And of course, in one of those mission specialist seats is Oleg Platonov, who I believe is the 7th Russian who's flying on a Dragon vehicle. Obviously, the seat swap agreement continues to work pretty well for NASA and Roscosmos. Talk about that extended partnership as we're just coming off of the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of Apollo Soyuz, and we heard yesterday from NASA and Roscosmos leadership about the importance of continuing not just through the end of station's life, but beyond that.
Really, when you look at the International Space Station, 25 years this year of habitation up there, it has always been an international crew. There's never been an only American or only Russian crew on the space station, not in those 25 years. And that is something that you kind of take for granted because it's been working really well. But it's something that takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. So those seat swapping that we do is very valuable for that. Astronauts have been flying up on Soyuz. Cosmonauts have been flying up on the American vehicles. And
it's 100 milligrams.
That cross-culture application, everybody has a different way, a little bit different perspective to look at things, and it's really the best way to get those different approaches. Russia has a history of low Earth orbit, a history of space station.
Which could be the same thing as pre-Gamlen.
And NASA learned a lot on Mir by going up to Mir, and now applying all of that to the space station. It's not just learning how to build a spacecraft; it's learning how to operate it effectively across those cultural barriers,
and how to live continuously in that fluid space
and work and make it productive, useful place to be.
Last question to you, because I know it's a little hot and steamy. We all like to get back into the AC. This, of course, is the first time that we're seeing a Dragon spacecraft fly for a 6th time. As the work continues to certify out to 15, you just talk about this moment in that process, given the importance of Dragon to CCP.
Well, this spacecraft Endeavour is a workhorse of the Dragon fleet, the 6th mission. When it comes to making sure that the spacecraft is going to be good, NASA and SpaceX work hand in hand. And really what you're seeing is a reusability level that allows a lot of flexibility. When you don't have a brand new spacecraft each time, it really gives you a lot of ability to determine where in the calendar you're going to be ready.
Decrease.
And just like when you're driving a car.
It takes a lot of
you
pumping
really want it to be reliable
to get the blood
with this.
And look forward to more reliability. Of course, we're just under 3 hours now from the planned launch of Crew 11 mission. Steve Seislov, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Will. Glad to do it.
Oxygenated blood.
And of course, we've got lots more live coverage coming for you in the next 3 hours before liftoff, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station.
Your knee joints and the knee joints connected to the femur joint. It goes right on down to the feet and your little toes. Well, a couple of years ago, I'll say 5 or 6 years ago, I felt my toes getting, if any of you have skied, snow skied, out west in the Rockies, which we have done repeatedly. And if you're pretty much, you're in your boots. You have boots. And then, of course, you change to the actual ski boot, which connects to the ski bone. skis. This is back in the days when you had 2 skis, not this board business. Yeah, forget that. No, I'm not going skiing again. I would break because I was like a kamikaze pilot on skis.
Advance team has completed their preps for crew arrival.
Downhill, baby. I'd go downhill. I'd be shooting down there 40, 50 miles an hour. I don't know what the miles per hour is. Now with the cell phones and the GPS, I could actually clock myself. I lose my phone probably. I have it strapped around my neck. I turn on that app while I'm down, see how fast I was going. I'll bet it was pretty fast because I'd come in and then I'd turn sideways and push a big, a mountain of this powdery snow. It would blast up. So I could get down to very slow speed. So I could take my skis off. This was like a ski lodge kind of a thing in the middle of the slope where you could go in there and get, some, if you're crazy enough to get an ice cold beer. And of course, it's like 25 degrees outside, so you can just take your beer and stick it in the snow. You didn't have to worry about that sucker warming up. No way. That would stay cold. But
and our thanks again to Steve
cold.
Sysloff with the commercial crew program.
Have,
you're seeing our first 2 duo from the Crew 11 mission. These are the NASA astronauts, Zena Cardman and Mike Fink, commander and pilot.
Wine. And of course,
striking a pose, pumping some fists,
cup,
getting ready to head all the way up to the space level.
Sip on that. I have a couple
getting
of wines
inside that Dragon spacecraft. Of course, the elevator only takes them so far up the crew access tower.
And they were,
once they get to the top floor, they do have one
people
last flight of stairs.
We were 4 of the 14, and then Michael Lee Adams and his wife. I think they had 2 kids with them, so that's 8 of us, and there were 6 others, which. I can't think of who they were. Lee and Robin were there. Yeah, absolutely. Because we have a picture. There was a guy taking pictures, of course. And he took a picture of the 4 of us. I got up on the wall behind me. Yep. Anyway, so circling back to pregabalin and this drug and me taking these pills 2 or 3 times a day, pregabalin pills. They would help fight this situation with the neuropathy. So I take them twice a day. I started out at 75 milligrams, went to 100 milligrams, twice a day. Then it was 100 milligrams 3 times a day. Then I went to 150 milligrams twice a day. And I went to 200 milligrams twice a day. They had a lot of different denominations of this Lyrica drug. Is expensive.
There you see Zena and Mike that are at the end of
whoever's
that platform
dumped over
there.
This little bottle, of 60.
In case of an emergency,
30 or 60,
and the side hatch has not been closed, and the emergency escape system is not armed. The arrows that you were just seeing on the floor there, those guide to the emergency egress system here at Launch Complex 39A.
Ouch.
like a fancy
So you take,
zip line that
you know,
will
3 of those a
lead
day. That's
the astronauts and crew away.
$15.
All smiles, though. Nothing to worry
15,
about
I
at
mean,
this
multiply
point.
that by
Fist
30
pump
days.
smiles abound
You know, it turns
as
into
Xena
real
Carbon
money.
and Mike Fink make their
Anyway,
way
so-
down the hall
As I remember, they're
with the crew access arm.
$1,100 a bottle.
Really nice view of the Space Coast. You can
60
see
of
the NASA meatball just behind
And
Xena.
200
It's tradition
milligrams is
for
not twice
NASA
100
or
milligrams.
for all commercial crew
You know, they
program
get-
astronauts
They get
to
$1,100
sign
for
their
60
name
of them,
around the
regardless of what
meatball before they go
concentration
ahead
of the
and
chemical.
head into
chemical
the
is like,
Dragon spacecraft.
Incidental.
Not
and
sure
what
if
most
they
people-
already did this during
I
the
guess
dry
I'm
dress
kidding
rehearsal
myself.
back on Monday.
Insurance
Looks
companies
like the answer
pay
to that is
a lot
no.
of that, but
The
you know,
Sharpie's
you
been
pay,
handed off, and it looks like Xena's
you're
first
paying
up
premiums.
to add her signature
You know, so you say,
to
well, the insurance company pays.
an
No, you're paying
ever-expanding list.
because you're paying premiums. And then they're paying you back a little bit because they're paying for somebody's drug costs, which are crazy. So Trump
You
is
can see
jumping on
the
that.
signatures
So in
of Doug
60
Hurley
days,
and Bob Benkin
You know, they're going to
with
come
the
down in
DM2
price,
beside them.
or they're going to
Those
get
were
shut
the
out of
first
the
two to
U.S.
fly
market.
on board this particular
And
Dragon
of course, that's going
spacecraft
to make
named Endeavour.
that's going to make Jimmy's legs go
One of those
numb.
SpaceX ninjas tucking the
So they
name
better,
tags into Xena's
You know, have
flight
a
suit
fast
so
solution
that
for
they're
that. I'm sure they will.
safely stowed and
Because,
out of the way.
The drug manufacturer,
Core on countdown. Crew are in the White Room, and this
I don't
is
know if
on
it's
schedule.
AstraZeneca or who makes. Of course, it's pre-Gamelin, so a lot of people make it. Used to be Lyrica.
Let me
It used
check.
to be, you know, now after a certain number of years, you know, then they have to allow other drug companies to make the same thing. So now pregabalin is the chemical. So that's the generic name, pregabalin. The brand name is Lyrica. And it starts off at 50 millimeters. No, come on. I'm like brain dead here. 50 milligrams. Then it goes to 100 milligrams. It goes to 150 milligrams. Then it goes to 200. It's like
As
50
Oleg and Kimia
milligrams
make their way
steps.
up the elevator, you
it
can
seems.
see NASA astronaut Xena Carbon as first
I think I
to
skipped
her seat
150.
on board Dragon
I went
Endeavour.
from 100s to 200s.
She'll be followed
And,
by
it's
pilot
all
Mike
under
Fink.
Stanley Weiner. Yeah, he was my primary care doctor for like 22 years. And he's, when I'd have an appointment, because I brought Marilyn, when I passed, like 5 years ago, that's when I started I said, Marilyn, you come to
For Mike Fink,
come
this
to my
will be
appointment with
the
me
third different
to all my
vehicle
doctors,
that he will take
It's just 2 or
into
3 of them.
space, having flown twice on a Russian
And that way,
Soyuz spacecraft
You're listening,
and
I'm
once
listening,
on board
so
a
we
space
can
shuttle
both,
orbiter. Coincidentally,
this
that
way,
was the orbiter named Endeavour
when I'm thinking, you can
on
be talking.
STS-134,
And,
the final flight
When
of
I'm
that
talking,
shuttle.
you can be thinking. So, it's always better to have someone else with you so they can pick up things that you may miss while you're thinking about what you're going to say next. I didn't walk in there with 1,000 questions, but I usually had a mission, when you
You can
go
see
to
Oleg
these health
Platonov
checkups.
and Kimia
The
Yui
doctor
that have
has a
now
mission.
reached
Well,
the
so
end
do I.
of the crew
Because
access
I'm gonna
arm. They'll be
straighten out all
making their
my
way down that corridor as well
prescription issues.
momentarily.
because,
As we heard from the
you
SpaceX
only get
mission
to
audio,
see them
things are
talk to
progressing
the
on
doctor twice
time
a
now
year.
as far as crew
They may have a
ingress.
telemed or 2 thrown in there. Marilyn just had a telemed where she explained her symptoms, and I gave her the 2
Yui on the left, Oleg
which
Platonov
is-
on the right, the 2 mission specialists of
we
Crew
need
11.
an antibiotic and we need
Kimia is
something to
flying for a
rehabilitate our
second
lungs
time.
because we're
Oleg
coughing.
He's flying for his
And,
first.
you're disturbing those tissues.
Currently T-minus 2 hours, 48
And you
minutes,
need
28
a,
seconds, and counting to the planned liftoff of the Crew 11 mission.
A steroid to rehabilitate your
You
lungs.
see the number of signatures that are surrounding the SpaceX
And when I
logo
got
to the right of the
bronchitis,
NASA meatball.
That's exactly
Those
what
are representing
they
the
were.
commercial astronauts
You know,
that
I
have
keep-
flown on board Dragon, lifting off
You
from this
should
pad.
always keep track
Of course, you
what
had inspiration
medicine
for being
they
the
are
first of
prescribing
those,
when if you're in a hospital.
alongside
and,
the now 4 Axiom
you always
missions
look
to the
at the
International
meds
Space Station
Before you
and the
take
other
them,
free flyer Polaris Dawn.
you look at the nurse who's dispensing, and you say, "What
To
is
date,
this?"
there have only been 3
Because they put it in a
individuals who
little
have flown
cup
aboard
that
a Dragon
doesn't have any
vehicle twice,
indication on it.
and those are
And she said, "Show me
astronauts
the bottle,"
representing those commercial
because
missions.
it usually comes
All commanders, of
in a
course.
bottle or some kind of container,
Jared Isaacman,
and it's got a
Peggy
name on
Whitson,
it, right? How else?
and Michael Lopez
You know
Alegria.
what the hell they're doing? They don't
Mike
have
Elliott
pills just scattered
commanded
around.
the AX-1 and 3 missions.
So
Peggy,
they tried to give me
AX-2 and
someone
4,
else's meds one time.
and Jared flew
You know,
Inspiration
I was in-
4 and Polaris Dawn.
You know,
Now that he is
room
no longer
205,
in
and
contention
the
for
nurse
the
is
NASA
going to give me
administrator
something
job,
from 502.
well, it'll be
Yep.
interesting to
No.
see what happens
not
with
for
the
me.
Polaris program. If he
Oh, well, I'm sorry. That's right.
returns to that
You know,
fairly
it's so
quickly, or
fucking-
if, as
Oops,
he has
sorry.
suggested in some appearances on various
It's-
podcasts and
yeah.
articles, if he may decide to run for office
You've got to
instead.
pay attention,
TBD on that one.
because these people are running around. They're in a big ass hurry, you know, to dispense the drugs to all the people. And of course, the older people, you know, are a little less tolerant of mistakes than younger people. But all people, all patients should be, you know, very vigilant as to when they give you meds. You know, if assuming you're conscious, you know, you're at you're at their mercy when you're unconscious. You know, if you're in that state. Well, then you have, you know, a spouse or a brother or sister or, you know, your children, somebody needs to watch the meds that are being dispensed to patients. And if you're non-compos mentis, then you should have a son, a daughter, or a spouse there, you know, for most of a 24-hour period to make sure they're dispensing, you know, the meds that the doctors has prescribed, and make sure you got the right room number on that dispensary drawer, which is usually what they have. They got a couple of drawers, and after they get me, then she's going to go down to, or he is going to go down to the next room, and then there's another drawer with another series of drugs for the guy in the room the next door down from me. You know, it's a real mess. And when they move you around the hospital, then it really becomes a horror show. Oh gosh. Anyway, so that's what this window is all about. SpaceX or Twitter just dropped out. See you later, Twitter. They're probably not happy that I'm dipping into their signal. Let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, they're loading them up into the. Let's take a peek before they shut the door. I gotta hit that one right there. There we go. That'll turn up their volume and turn me down a little bit. Oh, let's turn off. Let's get this guy. Pause him so we can hear the. Then come back to here. They're talking amongst each other. sound on here. They're packing them in there. You can see them strapping in. Yeah, like 2 minutes. 2 hours.
10 minus 2 hours, 42 minutes, 40 seconds and counting. The four members of Crew 11 now safely inside the Dragon spacecraft as the closeout crew are helping to make sure that they're situated in their seats and begin the process of clearing the side hatch before it needs to be closed. Coming up on the bottom of the hour here in Florida, just a little before 9:30 Eastern. If you're just now joining us, you're watching Space Flight Now's live coverage of the Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station. 3 astronauts, 1 cosmonaut heading up to low Earth orbit for a minimum 6-month stay on the International Space Station. It could potentially be extended out to 8 months. And that would be a nominal mission they're looking to extend in order to more closely align with what Roscosmos
I don't know, you
is
notice the
doing.
spacesuits, how nice they are, as opposed to what, the astronauts do with a NASA designed, when a government designing something instead of a private company. And that space capsule, that Dragon capsule, is a whole lot larger, than the capsules they had to ride up in with the NASA-designed capsules. Plus the booster rocket, the Falcon rocket, with, I think, 9 Merlin engines. That booster has been reused like 20 or 30 times. This Dragon capsule has now made, I think, 6. This will be the 7th round trip. They're very spacious inside. All the modern electronics. That's what capitalism does. When a private company can design something and be part of the, NASA just like dropped out of the business, and they couldn't, if they were in the business, it would be hard to look at how spacious it is inside that capsule. 4 people lined up. 3 more people could be lined up behind them. The capsule actually takes 7. It has 4 seats in front and then 3 seats behind them. But they have, it looks like, I can't move it around, but I can't. Up in the upper left, you can see.
Dragon, ready for
Looks
function.
like a suitcase. So.
SpaceX copies, we are configured, so seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, comm check.
Seat 1, loud and clear.
2, loud and clear.
3, loud. Seat 4, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear. Umbilical comm check complete. Report when ready for seat rotation.
Now they're going to rotate the seats. They're going to tilt them back. They're sitting it up right now. And then they're going to rotate that whole bench gets rotated back so they look straight into the screens that control, because it's a spacecraft, essentially, the second stage, which is attached to this capsule, is going to, once the booster disconnects, then the space capsule is on its own. Now it's moving at, 17,000 miles an hour relative to the ground. And they're going to get ready to, their hands up. Hands up. Yeah. Hands up. Everyone ready? Because the guys in black, the ninjas, they call them ninjas, number 34, number 36, and they're going
Time now
to
T minus 2 hours, 37 minutes, 47 seconds and counting. 4 good comm checks.
I'm assuming you can hear that.
Before that side hatch is closed, they'll perform the seat rotation maneuver that's coming up in about 10 minutes. And that'll be followed shortly thereafter by performing a good suit leak check like you saw them do inside the suit-up room in the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout building.
The ninjas are
You saw the
leading.
crew thanking the closeout crew, helping them get ready and get in position for their launch coming up in just about 2.5 hours from now.
That crew is a SpaceX crew. It's amazing. There's a lot of hours of training that these guys have gone through. These guys and girls. Girl. I think it's 3 guys. And the Xena. I think. There's the last camera.
SpaceX, Dragon, ready for seat rotation.
Copy, ready for seat rotation. All other teams are ready, so we will be initiating seat rotation now.
Okay. Now. That's the NASA now. Again, someone's going to push the button. And then the seats are going to rotate back. You can see that big gray thing that gentleman is touching. It's rotating now. It's a gentle rotation. But
There
those
go
seats,
the seats rotating back into the launch position. This will be more comfortable for the astronauts during the actual ascent from Launch Complex 39A. You can see some of their belongings as well as that red emergency bag that is stored beneath them.
and now the two in the middle can, touch them.
The Dragon
It's all
was
touch
ultimately designed to have as many as 7 passengers on board, though the biggest configuration that we've seen with proper seats has been what you see right here with those 4 seats and 4 crew members maximum.
Dragon SpaceX, seats are in the launch position. With that, you are go for Section 2, suit leak check preparation.
These
Nice
sides
pushing
will
on
have
the
it.
signatures there.
Yep, that camera's off. 2 hours, 34 minutes to go. It's 12. They pushed the launch back. All right. 12:30, 12:40. I thought it was supposed to be 11:40. So this is an interesting little situation. No problem. They're going to seal up that door in a minute. And then they're going to sit there for 2 hours and a half, 2.5 hours, while they load the fuel. That arm, you can see on the very right, you got the launch tower, and then you got the Falcon rocket. And they got that arm that's going right across, which is where their, the space people loaded themselves in the very top of that candlestick. And then that arm is going to move away, start loading the fuel, which is about 1 million pounds of the Falcon rockets use jet fuel number 2, which is similar to kerosene. It's the same fuel that's used in the jetliners, actually. And liquid oxygen. So you've got a liquid, which is a liquid under standard pressure and temperature.
Copy, tear complete. You have a go for Section 3 suit leak check.
They're checking.
Copy, go for Section 3.
They're checking the suits to make sure they're airtight and that they're air conditioned.
Good conversation back and forth between SpaceX Mission Control and Zena Cartman, of course, the commander of the Crew 9 mission. Well, this is her first time flying to space. This flow for the Crew 11 mission adds to the experience that she gained as the commander who trained for the launch of Crew 9 before that lineup was ultimately altered last year to make space for NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams to come back from the station on Dragon Freedom. All 4 of these astronauts and cosmonaut came from different missions to find their way to Crew 11. Of course, Xena coming from Crew 9. Both Mike Fink and Kimya Yui were training for the Starliner 1 mission before they were reassigned to Crew 11. And Oleg Platonov was training to be a backup crew member for
so the last thing to
a
be
Soyuz flight,
so they're
along
back
with
rotated.
Tracy Caldwell Dyson
The 2
and
middle people,
another cosmonaut.
The captain
However,
of the ship
the
and
medical
the commander
board
of the
during
ship,
evaluations made
are
a
in the middle.
determination that for
You got
one reason or
Xena on the
another,
left
he was
and
not fit to
another
fly at
gentleman on
that
the
time.
very right, I think.
And so
Now you got
that was
Chopper
an opportunity missed for him,
flying
and
around.
then he was assigned for a crew seat
That's
swap and was
interesting,
the backup mission specialist for Crew 10 in preparation for flying this mission here, Crew 11.
all the construction material, which is on pause right now, is once this is launched,
Nice helicopter view of Launch Complex 39A here,
Then they're
taking a
gonna get
look
back
at
to
the
work
Falcon 9 rocket
to
with a Crew
upgrade
Dragon
that whole
spacecraft
facility
up
so that
top.
we can have
Talking about the Falcon 9
the-
for a moment, this
the Mars
particular booster has the tail number of B1094 in the SpaceX fleet.
launching.
It will be flying for a
With the-
third time after previously launching
The
the
30
Starlink 12-10 mission back
33
in late April,
Merlin
as well
engines.
as Axiom Mission
It's
4
giving it
last
10
month.
bazillion pounds of thrust and 10 million pounds of fuel. This has 1 million pounds of fuel. The Mars rocket with the 33 Raptor engines takes
The booster
10
has had
million
a couple
pounds
of
of fuel.
issues
Can you imagine?
in the ramp up
I mean, you
to
talk about a-
AX4.
You
Going
know,
back to the Starlink mission, there
They
was
haven't
an
launched-
oxygen leak.
They haven't gotten close to the safety necessary for trying to launch people. They've had 3 explosions so far. 1 on the ground and 2 in space. So they're still, in the test mode for probably the rest of this year. Which, launch 10 is supposed to happen, later this month. And meantime, NASA and SpaceX are working together to they're getting ready to shut that door. And they're checking all the seals, and see, that's the arm that, see, it's stretching across to the top of that sucker where those astronauts just got loaded in there.
Calling a bit of
And
an
that arm
audible here.
bends way out of the
Dragon
way,
for nominal speed.
so that when that rocket ship takes
Dragon,
off,
we see the same. Closeout team
it
will
doesn't
perform final closeout
ruin
steps
that nice
and then exit the capsule. You can proceed to section 4, side hatch close, and report when ready to close
method.
hatch.
That
Copies.
big
Proceeding
walkway.
section 4. Wilco.
It's almost like the walkway that that regular people would walk when they load themselves up into a commercial jetliner when you're going, from Tampa to Texas. Or wherever. Well, they have a similar kind of walkway, but that'll bend all the way out of the way, so that the engine blast, when that thing takes off, you don't want it to damage that walkway and so forth. Particularly the end of that. It's got that seal. That's sealing the, keeping the bugs and the
With
the
good
wind.
leak checks
If there's
performed,
wind,
the side hatch closure
that's
is now
pushing
in
up
work
against that
there at
pretty good.
Launch Complex 39A.
And there are clamps right above the word NASA on that rocket.
The hatch should be closed
There
by
are clamps there that
just a little bit before 10
holding
o'clock
that
Eastern this morning,
in position.
1400
Did it
UTC.
on screen. There we go. We're moving around, rotating around. Yeah. That's quite a sight right there. Guess I'll have to do another one of those print screens. Yeah. Save it. There we go. Nice picture. Now there's the big tower that's going to connect to the
Dragon
Mars
SpaceX
mission.
comm check.
Booster that has
SpaceX
the
Dragon loud and
33
clear.
Raptor engines. This one has
Core
9
SU loud and
Merlin
clear.
engines.
Teacher's comm check is
The
complete.
Raptor
Stand
engines
by for
are
comm checks with
a lot
DC,
stronger than the
MD,
Merlin
and LD
engines.
in the launch configuration.
As far as the ability to
Dragon, DC on
produce
countdown 1, comm check.
thrust, which pushes them up
DC Dragon loud and
through
clear.
Earth's gravity.
DC loud and clear. Stand by for comm checks with MD.
It's amazing
Dragon,
everything.
MD on countdown 1, comm check.
You got a lot of people. You got people in Houston. you
MD
got
Dragon
people
loud and
in
clear.
the Kennedy Space Center.
MD loud and clear
You
as
know,
well.
they're all-
Stand by for comm
They
check
all got
over
their
Dragon to
gauges and they
ground.
all have their jobs, and they watch
Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground. comm
various
check.
parts. They haven't started loading
MD
the fuel.
Dragon loud and clear.
See, this is
MD
T
loud and
minus 2
clear.
hours.
Stand by for comm checks with
So
LD.
when it gets down to about T minus 1 hour, that's when they load that sucker up with the fuel,
with the comm check.
and everyone gets the hell out of the way. Yeah, that
LD Dragon,
launch
loud and
thing,
clear.
that'd be pulled back.
LD loud and
You
clear.
know.
Stand by for comm check
You
on
know,
Dragon
these
to ground.
guys are sitting, and they arm because the
Dragon,
Dragon capsule itself has the ability to disconnect and
LD
blast
Dragon,
off
loud and
away from anything
LD
that
loud
might
and
happen
clear.
to the ship below it.
Dragon SpaceX launch configuration comm checks are complete.
Which is somewhat automatic in case something happened.
Dragon copies.
I don't-
Crew are
I
ready
don't
for
know
side hatch closure.
If the rocket below them exploded,
Copy crew readiness for side hatch closure.
I wonder if
Closeout
they
team
would
is taking
survive the
final steps
shockwave.
in prep for that closure. So stand by
because,
for that in a few minutes.
that
The
would
vehicle will then
probably
transition to pad hatch
cause
close.
their
Ensure all
capillaries to
items are
pop.
secure from now through launch.
I almost don't know what I'm talking
Dragon
about.
copies. Wilco.
You could think of this moment as if you were flying on a plane where you would stow your tray tables, bring your seat backs into the upright and lock position for takeoff.
Yeah.
Of course, they want to make sure that everything is stowed properly so that there aren't any unexpected surprises during, obviously, the very energetic moments of liftoff through the first burn of the Merlin vacuum engine. Now, just about 2 hours, 23 and a half minutes to go before the flight of Dragon Endeavour with 4 crew members on board. As we're waiting the closure of the side hatch, I want to take a beat and just talk about where this Falcon 9 rocket is going to be flying today. For those of you who are in the area of Central Florida, you should have some really nice views of this Falcon 9 rocket. Given the time of day, it may be a little hard for folks uphill to see this vehicle as it makes its way along the coast of eastern seaboard here in the United States. But if you are in Central Florida, especially if you're in Brevard, and depending on how close you are to the pad, you may hear a sonic boom as the first stage booster comes back for a landing at landing zone 1. Notable, today this will be the planned final use of landing zone 1 by SpaceX. 2 companies, Viaspace and Phantom Space, are in the early stages of bringing their rockets to bear at Launch Complex 13, where landing zones 1 and 2 are located. As teams are going through the side hatch closure, keep your eyes on that iPad there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. They're going to be taking photos and sending them back to Mission Control so that not just the closeout crew ninjas, but also support teams with bigger screens can see if there's any potential foreign object debris. You might hear the call out of FOD. That's what that reference is. Something as you would think not important as just a human hair can be enough to trigger a FOD alert when they're performing a hatch closure. So they really want to maintain a perfectly pristine seal on that side hatch, and well, you can understand why. The protective cover has now been removed.
Everything's a procedure. Yep, there's another little barrier so that
they have those extra pieces of padding as the crew is both ingressing and egressing, going in and out of the Dragon vehicle in order to as perfectly protect that side hatch as possible, so that in the event that one of either the crew members or the closeout crew happens to step on it or bump it, they're not actually bumping into the physical hatch itself.
And so they don't tear their suits, causing any leaks in their spacesuits. Now they're getting out of the way so they can take some pictures, so they can prove to their work groups that they have accomplished their tasks. They're looking for any foreign items that might have... See, that's a special light on top of a stick. A light-emitting diode. And they're checking to make sure there are no bugs. Because that seal has to be sealed with no leaks. So Ninja number 46 is going all the way around. That's his job. I'm sure they got a special machine with a vacuum. Come on, you want to come over here and vacuum out the sill?
As the closeout crew continues their thorough assessment of the hatch to make sure that there is nothing that they're missing, you see them taking photos all along the way.
The magic of the iPhone, I assume. I don't know. And those images are, I'm sure, network connected to folks in the launch headquarters and the Kennedy Space Center and Houston. And they're going to be examining those photos to see if that guy with the wand missed anything. So he's got his pictures, and now they're going to get ready to close that door up. No one is allowed to get near it because they want to seal that sucker up. Looks like it's got a double layer of seals. You know, it's pressurized. It's like a pressurized cabin. But when you get in outer space, you're in the vacuum of space, so there's a lot of pounds per square inch that are working outward. All right, now. And engine number 44 is going to take a look. You got double checking of the latch mechanism. And I guess they're getting ready to get the go signal on shutting that door. Or the hatch, as they call it. When SpaceX people start talking, I'll try to be quiet. As we're sitting here on the 8th floor of downtown Boca Raton. Amazing. You're looking over that shoulder and that person going through their iPad. Checking all the closeout procedures, make sure they didn't
Time
miss
now,
out.
T minus 2 hours, 15 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. Hatch closure work continues on. Let's give you a little bit more detail about the 4 members of Crew 11 who are getting ready to fly in a little more than 2 hours. First up is Xena Cardman, the commander of the Crew 11 mission. 37 years old, born in Urbana, Illinois. She was a geologist and researcher who studied at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, earning her Bachelor's of Science as well as a master's degree. She was in the midst of earning her PhD when she got the call that she was accepted into the astronaut course, so TBD if she's going to go back and finish that, but seems like she's on a pretty good career trajectory, even if that doesn't happen and she doesn't get the title of Dr. Cardman. She was selected as a member of the NASA astronaut class of 2017, known as the Turtles. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, she was previously set to fly as the commander of the Crew 9 mission before being reassigned to Crew 11. And this will be her first trip to space.
They're into picture taking. I'll take that. They all want to. The guy's going to turn around and take a picture of them. Where they're all taking the last peek at the crew. They work and practice, so they're all buddies. Okay. They're getting ready to shut that door. There's number 2. There we go.
And it looks like everyone is in agreement with how the hatch looked. So that side hatch is coming down. And we'll await the call for a good side hatch closure, which should be coming up momentarily.
This is all very carefully choreographed. I practiced this 100 times. And it's all checklist. You know, everything is very precise. So that Ninja 46 was checking all the seals.
Crew's continuing to confirm that they have a good side hatch closure, going through their various steps as you can sort of make out on that iPad. Continuing on with our overview of the Crew 11 cadre, you have mission pilot Mike Fink, 58 years old, son of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a member of the 1996 astronaut class. Before becoming an astronaut, he served in the U.S. Air Force beginning in 1990 and retired from the Air Force in August of 2011, shortly after the conclusion of the Space Shuttle program and his first and only flight on board a shuttle. It was STS-134. He has flown to space 3 times. He's making his 4th trip to space today, if all continues to move well over the next 2 hours and change. First couple of flights on a Soyuz spacecraft, as you can see there, on Expedition 9 and Expedition 18, before flying STS-134 in 2011. To date, Mike Fink has amassed 381 days, 15 hours, and 11 minutes in space. He's done 9 spacewalks, totaling 48 hours and 37 minutes of spacewalking time. Kimiya Yui is Mission Specialist number 1, representing the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, otherwise known as JAXA. Born in Kawakami, Japan, he was selected as part of the 2009 astronaut group. And fun fact, one of his astronaut candidate classmates, Takuya Onishi, is currently on board the space station.
Dragon SpaceX, we're commencing health check for launch escape system. You can expect a momentary flight computer state change, followed by a transition back to pad hatch closed.
Dragon copy.
As I was mentioning about Takuya Onishi, this will be the first time that 2 JAXA astronauts from the same astronaut candidate class meet on orbit, so this will be a special moment for these 2. Kimiya calls Takuya one of his best friends. So an extra special moment we'll see once that hatch opens on the station and these 2 get to meet on orbit. As part of his training for his role in space as an astronaut, he participated in one of the underwater training exercises referred to as NEMO back in 2012. He's flown to space once before on the Expedition 44/45 mission.
Can you believe it?
And has amassed a total of 141 days, 16 hours, and 9 minutes in space. Rounding out Crew 11 is the Roscosmos cosmonaut, Oleg Platonov. The 39-year-old was born in
2 hours and 7
part
minutes
of Russia, which was
to launch.
had named as part of the former
So,
Soviet Union.
lots of time.
He was appointed to his
We're not gonna
cosmonaut
be-
class along with 7 other men
We'll be signed
back
off
in
here probably
2018.
30
He served in the
minutes.
Russian Air Force
I
from
just want to go
2008 until
couple
2018
things.
when he joined the
Um,
cosmonaut corps and began a
in
2-year
the key. I'm
training
gonna bring
regimen.
this right out. Whoops.
He completed that work and was named as a test cosmonaut in December of 2020.
And then we can
And this
tell
will
him,
be
you can
his
see right
first
there what's
flight
going
to
on.
space.
Yep, we'll just pack him away. 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 14 seconds.
Here are the mission milestones that we're working towards.
I got the-
Launch coming up at
The launch.
12:09 and 24 seconds in the afternoon,
They
16:09,
got the
24 UTC.
Capsule sealed up.
The Dragon spacecraft
Now
is
they're
set
checking the
to separate
seals.
from the
They're pressurizing
Falcon
the
9
cabin
second stage
to make sure
about
there are no
10
leaks.
minutes after a liftoff,
They have special
and a
equipment
docking
which
coming
will
up
listen
after
to
a
the
roughly 39-hour phasing
seals
period
to make
set
sure
for
there's
just about 3 a.m.
no
on
leaking
Saturday,
going on.
August 2nd.
Might be a little chatter in the background. We'll keep them to a dull roar. Anyway, so circling back to Lyrica, the drug companies have 60 days to bring their prices down in line with the most favored nation, they call it, in that business, which means that that we get charged no more than what the best price is anywhere else. Yeah, that's the deal. With the upgrading of these systems, I can see 10 lines of
We're coming up
On
on
my
2
control panel, I
hours
can
away from
actually
liftoff
see
of
the,
this
what
Falcon
do you
9 rocket with the Crew Dragon Endeavour on top.
it's the closed captioning.
Taking a look at our live chat
It's-
here, I want to thank the little more
you
than
know, you can
1,400
watch
of you
two
who are
lines, you
watching
can
along
watch-
with us live today.
God, how many
If
lines
you haven't
is-
already, you could do us a
Three.
big favor just by clicking
like
that like
10.
button and sharing the stream
Yeah,
to allow
I think I
more
got that
folks to
right.
find their way into this live
It's
launch
moving.
coverage.
I can change the language. Oh my God. Look at all these languages. Let's turn to Dutch. Then you see all the, now everything's coming out in Dutch. It should. Yeah, it's going up in Dutch. You can't see it. Let's get rid of Dutch. I just picked Dutch because it was next to English. There we go. So in the middle of that, I got Dutch. It keeps marking up. Come back to what we're doing. And matter of fact, I'm just going to close it. I don't know how to restart.
Our photography team has been hard
All
at
right,
work
there we go. Let's
making
get back
sure
to
that
this.
we capture all the angles on this Falcon flight and the crew on board. If you're not following the
No,
fellas
these are
on
screen
X, you can find them at their handles
captures,
here. Adam is
I
at
believe,
8burn
yeah.
NYC. Michael Kane at MD
So-
Kane Jr. John Pisani is at John Pisani Photo.
There's a
Be
lawsuit
sure to follow
going on
Spaceflight
between
Now,
the
simply
Department
at
of Justice
Spaceflight Now. You can find us on
and
Threads,
the,
Blue Sky,
Apple.
and Facebook.
and the DOJ wants a master key to get in to Apple products like iPhones, iPads, and so forth. And it was set by the board of directors. 5 or 6 years ago. Tim Cook brought it up to the board of directors. And basically asked the board to confirm with management's decision to have no back doors, no pass keys. Because as soon as you give somebody the master key, it'll be passed around all over the country. One will get it in the middle of the night, and everything's digital now. So you can never know whether it's really locked up. It can be hacked, And Apple said, no, We're not building any backdoors in the software. When a customer locks his phone is locked. And everything on his phone is his private property. And we have no way of getting in the phone. And if you send us the phone, we're going to send it back to you because there's nothing we can do. We don't have any teams of people here that can hack into someone else's phone. And we just, period. Now, there are private companies, most notably, 6-7 years ago, they got a hold of a terrorist and they got his iPhone and said, terrorist, lock the iPhone. And he's sitting in jail, and his iPhone is sitting with the FBI, and the FBI has got their thumb on their nose because they can't get in the iPhone. And during the 11th attempt, whoosh, everything gets erased. So you as the phone owner have 10 attempts to put your password in correctly, because on the 11th attempt, everything goes bye-bye. So that's the deal. That came from the board of directors of the Apple company, a $3 trillion, huge global company, says, we have no backdoor. And the DOJ wants, a master key. And there isn't any. So they're suing Apple. And it's going through the courts right now. And this article that's behind this picture I captured this morning at 7:26 a.m. when I was reviewing my Flipboard, which represents probably more than half of my book of knowledge, because this is what I read every day.
We have completed side hatch leak check. It was successful. So the teams are completing their final
updated, so I
closeout
read
steps for the
in the morning and noon and
here shortly.
Evening and late evening.
For
I probably
Dragon
hit this
and
4
Falcon
times a
9,
day.
both vehicles are healthy,
And
so we're looking good for our launch
every
today.
time there's something else published, it falls either within the parameters that I,
looking good for weather.
I set the parameters on what I'm interested in reading. So if anybody writes an article and publishes it in any of the publications I have listed, then it's going to show up on this Flipboard panel. And at 7:26 in the morning,
we are just under 2 hours away from the planned liftoff of the Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station.
Popped up.
If you're just now joining us, you're watching live coverage from Spaceflight Now. Coming up in the next couple of minutes, we're going to be joined by a special guest to talk about human science that is going to be performed on this Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station.
Graphic of the Department of Justice and the Apple and the lightning bolt is in between.
Closeout continues, and so we're just about to tee up that interview. So we'll be back with more commentary in just a moment. You're watching live coverage from Spaceflight Now.
Code. Does someone have a pass key to get into any device? And the answer is no. Now, I started to say there is, 8 years ago, there was during Trump's first administration, they caught a bad guy, a terrorist, and they got his iPhone before he could destroy it with a hammer or whatever. And so they grabbed the iPhone, and Department of Justice, immediately got a hold of Apple and said, hey, I got a terrorist iPhone. I need you to open it up for me. Apple says, sorry, we don't have any way of opening it up. We have no passkey. And don't bother sending it here because we're just going to turn around and send it back to you. There is no master key to get in these devices. We will give you a sworn statement to that effect so that you don't send us all this stuff. Because, not only was the Department of Justice sending them things or trying to, so was the state of New York. They locked up a bunch of terrorists. And they had, 179 different cases with iPhones. They wanted them unlocked. And Apple's saying 179 times, sorry, folks, we have no master key. Well, there is a company in Israel, believe it or not, that is capable of unlocking the iPhone or iPad. They charged the Department of Justice. Now remember, this is 10 years ago. They charged them $1 million, I think it was. They negotiated, they argued about it, and they came up with $1 million. We'll open the phone for you. And that's what they did. They unlocked the phone. And now since then, the same company, you can Google it. I'm not in the business of promoting these companies. I'm going to crop split this. There we go. This is the usual. I did it the other way so we could see the space, what was gone, with any of the space stuff. And they sealed the door up and all that kind of stuff. You want to take another peek? Okay, let's see what's going on. They're still checking the seals. They're listening. They have a special listening device. And I think they're getting ready to unlatch. They have like suction cups. Oh, I think I have to do this. There we go.
And welcome back to Spaceflight Now's live
There
coverage
you go.
of the
One's guy
Crew
talking
11
over
mission.
there.
We're just about
They
2 hours
have-
away from the planned
they have
liftoff of the
successfully sealed
SpaceX
the
Dragon
doors.
spacecraft,
And
sitting
Ninjas
atop a
number
Falcon 9 rocket out
35
there
and
at
44
Historic Launch Complex 39A. We talked a little bit about the commercial crew
doing the
program with
procedure
Steve Syslov, and now
so
I want
that
to bring
that
in
canopy
yet another Steve, but this
can
time
be
talking
released
more about some of the science
from-
that's going to be
oh, there's
involved
a-
with Crew 11 as opposed to the flight to
There's
get to that important research
Yeah,
station.
there's a
So,
side panel
Steve,
to protect the
sorry,
capsule.
Flats.
Yep.
Sorry, I was so close.
Yeah.
Steve
From,
Flats,
that canopy
Director of
thingy.
Human Research with the ISS
So
program.
when
Thank you so much for
there's
joining
an
us.
injury-
Sure, no problem.
And so there
The,
are 10
Dragon
principal
space
experiments that are going to be
capsule.
done by this crew.
This is all stuff
We've heard a little bit
designed by
about Cypher that is involved with
SpaceX.
Xena Carbon. I guess if you want to start there, and then
Yeah.
we'll delve into some of the other science mission operations.
So
that
you
they're
got
gonna be
two teams
conducting.
of people. You got
Cypher is a
NASA
large
people and
experiment,
SpaceX
and
people.
essentially it's looking at every
And you
human
can see they got
system that you
SpaceX
can
on the
imagine.
outside
There
of their
are
outfit.
14
You
separate
see where there's an
experiments
X
that we
on
all
the
put
shoulders.
together so that we could get a
So-
broad range of how the
And
human body is
ninjas
being
with
affected.
X's are
Everything
SpaceX
from
people.
vision, cardiovascular
And that's a
system,
SpaceX
sensory motor
capsule.
system, mental health, everything
spaceship,
you can think of
essentially,
is part of that
sitting
experiment.
on
What we're
top
trying
of
to
a-
do is
See,
get a
now he's
better
got a
feel for the
cord on
time
him
course of how
so
things
that in
change,
case
how
he-
things are affected. So we have
so he
some
doesn't fall
shorter
down.
missions, we have some longer missions, some of the
They're
extended
getting ready
missions
to
that we've been able
unseal
to do.
that.
And so from that we
Because
can patch
remember,
it
they had to
together and try
hermetically
and
seal
create
that
a
sucker.
model to predict what's going to happen for Mars travel.
So that
And Xena mentioned that this
No
was going to be
dust
something she was involved with, whether she
or
was on Crew 9 or now on Crew
palmetto
11.
bugs.
How do you decide
They
which
get all kinds of
astronauts are going to
wild
be
flying
involved in
things
sort of
flying
how to
around
place
here in South
those
Florida.
timetables, to create the
Even
perfect
though
picture?
that's
Oh, that's a great question. So it's really complex. What we do is we put together
40 stories up.
different scenarios that the crew can participate
Yeah,
in, and then we
that's-
tell them a little
that's
bit
like a
about each
40-story
experiment,
office building
and they get
sitting
to
next
choose.
to
So all human
a Roman
research is
candle
100% voluntary. So
with
the
a
crew
little
gets to pick what they're
capsule
doing, and
on
then they
the
give
top.
us a survey
It doesn't
of what
look-
they're
the
interested
capsule's
in.
pretty
We
big,
put that all
actually.
together, see what works. Some things
Yeah,
don't work
you
well
saw
with
the
others.
inside.
Like
It's
if
very
you're
spacious.
testing a treatment, you don't want to
Actually.
then also do an experiment looking at how it's changing because
Whereas
they'll conflict. right? And so we put all
NASA
those together,
designed
we come up with 10
space
different
capsules.
scenarios, and we pick the best one and
Yeah,
work
very
with the core office
cramped and
on how that all works.
all very
And so
military.
since Xena is the subject
care
du
about
jour, what is
spacious
her frame of reference here? What is her focus?
So she's
They wanted it spacious
participating in that experiment. Like I said,
for the
14
equipment.
experiments all put
And
together.
they didn't
It's
make the
kind of the
equipment,
broad
you know,
mix.
of
And
course
so
they didn't
hers
have the
will be what we're
miniaturization
calling standard
of the
duration
electronics
missions,
that they
so
have
sort of right in the
today.
middle. And that
I
gives
mean,
us
what
a
is-
place to work
what's
from
going on
as we do
inside
the
of an iPhone
analysis and
today
see how the body's being affected over time.
And of course, as
mind-boggling.
we talk about extending
I could
out to
spend-
long-duration missions on the moon, eventually
I could
Mars
spend
someday,
hours and
you know, in
hours
the
talking
distant future,
about
far beyond that.
What's
There's a
going
lot
on
that
in
we
phone
still
and the
need to know about
miniaturization
human physiology, human
and the
psychology.
different pieces
In these other 9 experiments
of
that you're going to be
technology,
conducting with
the
this crew,
motors.
can you talk about
So
some of the
see,
ones that are really
he's wired
designed
up
to
with a
enhance our
harness.
ability to travel
So if
farther
he were
and
to
stay
fall,
longer outside of our
that
little
steel
protective bubble here
cable
on
would
Earth?
catch him.
Absolutely. One that we're doing
know,
is
they're-
called manual piloting,
They're
and that is
taking
to
away-
simulate landing
that's a big
on
air
the moon
duct thing.
and longer term on Mars. And
gets
we're
pulled
looking
out.
at how the G transitions that the crew members will see will affect their ability to land the vehicle. So we have simulators that are like
That's
a
what
video
the
game, but they're
flexible
very
cable
similar
is
to what we
connected to.
expect it to be. And they're
looks like,
controlling, and we're moving
something
everything
like
like
a- like
this
a vacuum
and
cleaner
back and
hose.
forth and challenging the body and challenging the sensory motor system to adapt, and we see how well they
they're
can
getting
land
ready
that
to pull
vehicle.
that
We also
canopy
have
back,
studies looking at
or
the eyeball,
detaching
because
it
we have something
in
called
its entirety.
SANS, and it can affect the shape of the eye
So
and the
they're
structure of the
latching.
eye, potentially the vision,
Some
and it
of
also
these
has some
hose
effects on the
panels.
brain. And so we have
And
multiple
the thing that
experiments
lock-
on Crew
lock
11
that
that will be
canopy
looking at that
up tight
particular
against this
phenomenon, so we
capsule.
can understand it and also treat it.
And for that
Yes,
ocular
you'll
study,
see
will
a
that
bright-
be sort of done piecemeal over the
You see
course
how
of their
bright it's
6
getting?
to 8 month stay, or does that
Yes,
happen in
because
a
the
narrow
canopy is
pocket
being
of their
pulled
mission?
back.
It's everything. So we have pre-flight
And we gotta
measurements that
make
have already
sure
been
everything
done.
is,
We have multiple in-flight measurements over
bound
the
up
course of the
properly
mission,
so
and then
that
we have multiple
nothing's gonna
post-flight,
bang
so we
into
can get
that
a feel
capsule.
for how everything's doing,
And,
what part, and that's important for that time
injure
course
it
that
in
we
any
talked
way.
about a little bit too. Is it something that happens early in
Because
mission?
that
Is it
baby
something
is-
that only happens late in mission?
So
And then
now
the
they're gonna pull
recovery, how
back on
well do
that
they
sucker.
recover? Is this something that's just going to affect them in space and then they're fine when they come home? Or is it potentially
You're not
more
going
of
to
a
see anybody
long-term
put their
health
foot
issue
up
that we
against
need
that
to
and
be
push
contained?
off.
And as far as
I
the study
don't
looking
think
at
so.
landing on the moon,
No,
obviously we've had
it
a
was-
number of Apollo missions that
You
did
can
see
see how
a
bright
pair of
it is.
astronauts
They-
touch down on the lunar
They
surface.
removed the seals
What
from
are
all
we
around it. They're ready to
specifically going to be
pull back.
learning through this experiment that you
We're
know
ready.
we either
And
weren't
there's
paying as
someone's
close
got a
enough attention
checklist.
to during the Apollo era,
Yeah.
or really
And
want to
he's
lock
telling
into? That's going to be
if you
especially
see
important
somebody
given larger
pick up a
landers
wrench.
with greater impact and potentially
We got a
G-force.
flight delay.
And different parts of the moon.
Right.
Right. So the
Man,
geology is a
one
little bit
last
different.
check
We
for the
want to see
seals.
how well their body responds to those G transitions and their control. So it
The last
affects
thing you
things
wanna
like
do is have that
cognition,
thing-
sensory motor balance,
You
how
know,
you
we got
perceive things,
a million
right? So
pounds of fuel
distance
and
all
yeah,
of those kind of things all
these
come
watches,
together. Think about how complex it is to try and
you know,
land a
probably
vehicle
costs
on the moon, right?
$10
Incredibly
million.
complex. And I mentioned
By the
it
time
feels
you
like a
add it
video
all
game,
up.
but it's serious, right? And so they have multiple controllers, and
Yesterday,
we're
they were
studying
supposed to
every
take off
tiny
yesterday.
little movement and
But
how
there's
they're
a big
affected.
thunderhead
And
that
that's
went right
another
over the
thing
top of
we're
it and
doing
cracked the
pre-flight.
lightning bolt.
We have trainers on
And
the
he said,
station, so we can do some
Someone
in-flight
flipped the switch and
measurements,
said,
and then
"Launch
also
canceled."
post-flight to see how
They can't take
the
off.
full
They can't take
range
off
of the mission
through a
affects them.
thunderhead.
And of course, we've got the
No,
rocket for
Thunderhead
Artemis
can't
2
be
stacked
closer
inside the
than 10
VAB,
miles
mostly
away,
stacked.
actually.
Behind us, the Artemis 3 mission, which will have the landing, is
So the
coming up
winds
in
are
mid
coming out of the
27.
north.
How will this
Northeast.
fold into that
North,
first
northeast.
landing?
You can
Is
see
this something
how
that
the waves
once
are.
you
That's
have this
the-
data, then you sit
see the
down
very
with the
background there.
SpaceX mission management
You
team
can
and the
see
folks
the
at the Human
Atlantic
Landing
Ocean.
System Office at Marshall Space Flight Center, or how does this research,
From this,
really come
view.
to the fore?
For us, it's really
Now,
a
we
two-phase
had the
thing.
same
One
view
is how do we safely land on the
straight
moon? So all the
across,
work we're doing now is to get us to that point. Once we're there, what we're really thinking about is how does this get us to Mars, right? And so we'll use everything we gather on lunar landings, lunar surface
Yeah,
ops,
so
all
that's
of
a
that
wide-angle
on
view
getting
now.
us to Mars.
Steve, I know
From,
there's a bunch of stuff that we could be talking
you know,
about
the
today.
vehicle
Obviously, your
assembly
time is very
building.
precious, so thank you so much for taking the
Kind
time
of
to talk
a
with us, and look
place
forward to
where
hearing all the results of these
people
fantastic experiments.
Grounds
Thank you
there,
very
and you
much.
can
Thank
stand
you.
out there.
And of course, we've got
Watch
much
it
more
take
live
off
coverage with
you want
an
to.
hour and 48 minutes
We
to go
got the
before
best view in
liftoff
the
of
house
the
right
Crew
here.
11 flight. You're watching Spaceflight Now's live
1 hour
coverage
and
of Crew
47
11.
minutes to
We'll be right
go.
back with more commentary.
Yeah, about 12:20. get in front of your screen. That canopy is going to be pulling back. You can see a guy with a tripod, probably. You see that? He's got his little tripod going. Now, you can't tell whether that's a SpaceX guy, a NASA guy, or a valued guest. They allow several hundred people to get into this vehicle assembly building press area. We were part of a group of national media people as a photographer. Marilyn and I take pictures. And we actually took pictures at the debate between Obama and Mitt Romney. And oh my God, you talk about the media all leaning at Obama. If Obama would answer a question right, oh my God, there was an uproar of 400 or 500 media types. And there was two of us. Yeah, I kept my Mitt Romney business card. I kept that in my pocket. Anyway. Tuck him away. All right, what's going on here? Live update. Trump announces 90-day delay of Mexico tariffs. So they're checking that out. And hearing a little rumbling. I was wondering where that's coming from. Trump's dream of building a ballroom at the White House is becoming a reality. So they found an extra room in the White House. The White House is a big facility. All right, so here you have a leaker. This is the new back of what an iPhone looks like. Instead of this camera module being halfway across, it's going to go all the way across. And they're moving the flash. And this is a LiDAR that emits. It's got a camera and an array of light emitting diodes that shoots out red beams over everything. And the LiDAR picks it up for measuring distances of everything that camera's looking at. And that little dit right there, that's the microphone dit. So you got the three lenses, the telephoto lenses in the middle. Whoops. And you got the top lens. One is a normal lens, and the bottom lens of these two, that one right there, that's mid-screen. That's a wide-angle lens. That's the normal lens. And this is the ultra telephoto. All three of those lens systems are backed up with three separate 48 million pixel imagers. 48 million pixels each. Would you believe? And Trump wants a ballroom in Mar-a-Lago, and that part of that area was occupied by Melania, so they're going to move Melania's area of influence to another area of Mar-a-Lago. It's big enough for the two of them. So she's probably a little cranky. But Trump wants a ballroom, all done it, in Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago is not the same size as the White House. This is the press secretary, Caroline Levitt.
Time now, T-minus 1 hour, 41 minutes, 43 seconds and counting.
Working on the building.
I want to thank Steve
If you're hearing
Platts
low
for
frequency,
his time and talking about his work with
hammering.
the Human Research Program and
Someone's
what's coming up
chiseling up some
with
tile
Crew 11 once
on
they
another floor.
are launched to the space station.
I took my headphones off for a minute and I couldn't hear it, but it's this the sound system I got here is noticing that low frequency. Starting this fall, the Coca-Cola Company, the famous Coca-Cola Company, is going to change from high fructose corn syrup to the sweetener taken out of cane. It's going to be cane sugar instead of corn. It's going to be cane. Wow. Gonna have to listen to that all day. So that's what's going on with these. They want to just, apparently, the Coca-Cola products made in Mexico are made with cane sugar, not high fructose corn syrup. So the corn industry in the United States will be upset with losing the Coca-Cola bottling company as a source of their sugar, because they're going to cane sugar. And they'll have to start growing sugar cane. There's sugar cane fields just 30 miles north of where we're living right now. Yep, in the Central Florida. NVIDIA denies that it has back doors. Yeah. Everyone's looking for a back door. Yeah, they're all looking for a back door. So they can crack into, either the chips that are on these devices or, any other way they can sneak in. NVIDIA says, sorry, no back doors. Apple says, no back doors. These touchscreens are very... You gotta be... No, cancel. No, we don't want to select. Oh, crap. There we go. We just want to... No. Oh, I got my... Cancel. Oh, boy. Now it went to the very... They went to the very bottom of that collection. August 1st. Now, there's something going on with the Social Security
team has
checks.
departed the crew arm.
Social Security payments.
Dragon copies.
If you're in the first 10 days of the month,
Just under an hour, 38 minutes to
Let's see
go.
where
As
I
you've
have
heard, the closeout crew
something
has
written.
departed the pad, going a safe distance away from LC-39A, but staying as close as possible up to the point through liftoff in case they are needed to return back to Launch Complex 39A.
There's all albums.
With every mission, especially human spaceflight missions, the mission patch
this
for
group
this flight
doesn't have.
is always great to
We need to
see.
get
Want to
up
bring
here.
in the Crew 11 mission patch designed by the crew themselves. You can actually find this patch for purchase on our shop, which is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Channel members here on
There we
YouTube
go.
get a discount
grab that
for
thing just
purchases
right.
made through our shop.
It gets fat, and then you can pull it down. Yeah. There we go. These are some of the images I captured at T-minus 26 minutes and counting. You just look at that there. I'll show you. Watch. I'll take this. No, we want to open up Photoshop Express and hit the image editor button right up there. And then we're gonna.
We just showed you
pick
the
one of
patch
these.
designed by the crew. Let's show you the other patch for this
And we're
particular
gonna
flight,
go to
as designed
DAs.
by the launch provider,
Take
which of
away
course
that
is
You
SpaceX
see how
today,
it clears that up and gets rid of that hazy background.
lending
So you can
emphasis
actually see
to
the
the
background.
Falcon
Has
9's
a
upper
tendency
stage
to
with that
darken it.
Merlin vacuum engine placed
that's okay.
prominently
We
in the foreground.
We can lighten
Dragon
it up,
Endeavour
and we can
up
sharpen it up.
looks
See,
like
we
it's
have a
cresting
clarity
over an
button
orbital
over here.
sunrise with the Falcon first
we
stage
can-
booster B1094
And
just
we have a sharpen
atop the
tool
word
here.
crew. As a reminder,
And,
after the point of stage
right.
separation, the booster will perform
So
a
we're
flip
done with this
maneuver
application.
and aim for a return back at
I'm
landing
gonna hit
zone
this arrow
1.
down.
This will be the final
Now, that
time
picture has been
that
saved.
SpaceX will land a booster at that particular landing site,
So we're gonna
as it's in the process
close
of
this.
turning over Launch Complex 13 to
Close
Via
that.
Space and
Come
Phantom
back to here.
Space for the use
Cancel
of their
anything in
own
there.
small orbital launch vehicles.
And here's the one we just.
For now, though, SpaceX will continue to make use of landing
Offloaded,
zone 2
from,
when it has Falcon 9 rocket launches that result in a booster that needs to come back or is able to come back for a touchdown
From Photoshop
at the
Express.
landing zone.
So now we're going to touch over in the upper
Part of the updates from how the Space
right-hand
Force is
corner, you
managing
3 lines.
the spaceport here
lines.
at Cape Canaveral
Going
Space
this way.
Force Station
Right here.
is that
Touch
each
that.
launch provider that wants to
it
have a
opens up
propulsive landing of
an
its booster
image
back
editing
on
screen.
land needs to do so
Now
back
I'm
at its
gonna
landing
touch
or
this
its launch
auto
site.
everything. See
So
what happens.
SpaceX
I'll
will soon
brighten it
no
up a
longer
bit.
be able to land
And
at
I'm gonna
either
come to where it
LZ1
says
or 2,
shadows.
and eventually,
See, this
again,
one
that
is
pad will
highlights.
fully turn over to
I think we got enough
Via
highlights.
and Phantom.
But we want to take the shadows here and open this brightness up a
TBD
little
on
bit.
exactly when Phantom
Brighten it up
Space
a
is
tad.
supposed to launch their first mission, but
You wanna
most
turn
recent
this
update
down a
we've
tad.
received from Via Space is that they're tracking their first launch
Since we got
sometime in
a lot of
2026.
brightness and of turning up the shadows.
Of course, that'll
That way you kind of like
probably
can see
depend on the
underneath.
timeline to
what's
convert
going
the
on.
pad to meet their launch needs and have a rocket that's ready to
That
launch.
thing is probably pulled away from now. See, they were. No, let's not louse this up. Let's get this. All right, that looks pretty good. We can rotate the color temperature a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty much good at 0. So we're done.
Via's two-stage rocket is called the Dauntless, able to deliver about 500
So there was a little
kilograms
bit
to
of uphill
low
walk,
Earth orbit
coming up this
on a
corridor
rocket that's
thing.
about 22.3 meters
But,
in length. Phantom Space,
the
their rocket is
SpaceX
called Daytona.
This part,
It's
which
capable
is
of carrying
engineered by
about
SpaceX,
600 plus
it,
kilograms to low
it
Earth
seals
orbit.
itself right around that portion of the capsule.
Advertises its rocket
And you see how nice and
priced at
pristine
about $6 million
white it
per
is.
pop.
I mean, it is all cleaned up and checked out. It's already been on 5 other space missions. I think this is Flight 6 for the top part.
As we look out over Launch Complex 39A, you can see quite a bit of work is in flow here at the pad.
This middle piece right here,
the Starship
there's
Orbital Launch Tower,
stage
which is just
engine.
beyond the Caraxes Arm and
And the
Dragon
fuel
nose
for the
cone from this
second
vantage
stage
point.
engine.
That'll be used to launch
And then, of course,
SpaceX's
this
more than
piece
400-foot tall Starship
is
Super Heavy booster
the rocket.
Starship rocket up top,
The
Super Heavy
Merlin-
booster down below.
No, it's
You can see the black Teslas that brought the crew out to the
called the
pad
Falcon
are
rocket.
now making their way
and it's got
down
9
the ramp.
Merlin engines. I got my Merlins and my Falcons next up. Yeah, the SpaceX. We got the Falcon 9 rocket, which is this cylinder has been used. It's got all kinds of stuff inside there. It's got 9 Merlin engines attached to, a sophisticated plumbing arrangement and pumps, so forth, to pump the liquid jet fuel number 2, kerosene. I don't know what they call it, but it's the same as jet fuel number 2. It's a kerosene type product. And there's liquid oxygen that gets pumped onto here. And if you add the oxidizer is oxygen, and the combustible fuel is essentially kerosene. And that's what the Merlin engines burn, which produces several 100,000 pounds of thrust times 9. And this is a picture that was captured, by myself. 4 million pixel image captured by a print screen. And then, of course, I worked on it with the Photoshop Express, and it came back saved as a JPEG. The image originated as a PNG file. PNG stands for ping. So that file we sent up to Photoshop Express. We image edited with the dehazing tool. And that's what you end up with. You go, there it was, and there it is. It's a higher contrast image, but you can see the weeds that are in focus are a lot easier to see with a higher contrast image. They're not going to be people waving to you in any way, because the people are going to get off this ramp, all those ninjas, number 46 and 26 and 45, and that is a very choreographed hour that we watched. This launch people dealing with the whole shuttle aircraft. And what's going to happen next is there's I don't know how much of an hour. Yeah, it's about an hour and a half, I guess. Wait. Let's see if we can get multiple windows going here simultaneously. Space flight. That was taken this morning. I was going to ship my soundboard over to Assyrian to have them inspect it because it was very difficult to turn on. Turns out I fixed it up myself. I had a problem with my power supply. You know, the thing you plug in the wall and then you plug it into your unit. The power supply was not sufficient, to carry on with what was going on. So I updated the power supply and everything is fine. So the software was not giving me a signal that the power supply was, insufficient or not working. And then finally it came up with a message on the screen. It said the power supply that you're using is not sufficient. And I've been, using that power supply like for, like 4 years. So that was one of the first times I've had a power failure, of the, look at there. Now you're standing on top of that whole large structure. And that's going right, angling upward, actually. But we're above all of it. In the background is another one of these towers, but bigger and taller than the one we're standing on that captured this still image. Notice these clampers around in the middle of the picture here. These clamps are wrapped around. There's another one. It's like this. Steadying that rocket. You got people standing on board, people coming on it, on and off, essentially disturbing the equilibrium of the entire rocket. So they got it attached to the spaceship. And so when that thing pulls away, it pulls out. This is when they were getting their seats put on. Their suits put on. Notice they each have this pressurization valve arrangement so that this hose goes and it tests the pressurizations of the suits. The connections. You can see up here they've got some meters and so forth. They didn't take a good picture. This guy's got a portable unit where he can see everything all. But, they're all, everything, this is all a routine. They went through the exact same routine yesterday morning. Same people, same array. They got their own set of ninjas down here. 17, 22, 48. And there's number 10 over there. He's there. Everybody's looking at some kind of a control panel. There's number 22. She's checking on God knows what. These are SpaceX people. And the people that are in the blue are not SpaceX people. at 3 a.m. Look at that. 3:00 a.m. That's when I got the print screen of, thank you. It probably hit the account already. Let's just check it. What the heck? There you go. Get Epidemic in there. While we check my checkbook. I don't write checks. We send the money electronically between our account and the account of the property owner. Yep. No. No. I make sure there's plenty of money in the account. There's more than enough money. Not a lot more, but more enough. All right. Donald is pointing his fingers at Barron. This is in the White House. Barron looks a little... There's a caption. I don't know what the caption would read on this picture. Remember this guy? He was sheriff. Yes, he was. Mabry? Not Dale Mayberry. It's probably Mayberry. Oh yeah, there's a CMMG Banshee shooting a 5.7 by 28. Yeah, it's an AR style. It's only got an 8-inch barrel on it, so it's not like a special weapon. Can't be longer than 10 inches. It can't be shorter than 16 inches on the barrel. If it's in between those two, then it's a special license to even carry it. But that bullet will shoot out of that, it's not actually a rifle. I mean, the stock folds back right at the seam, right there. That thing folds back behind for a more compact carrying, throwing it in a duffel bag or some sort. So you hold this grip and that's how you hold that baby. And when you hold that grip, it positions your hand properly for pulling the trigger. And if you're not pulling the trigger, you keep your finger straight. You point it forward. Or point it down if you're barreled down. I used to bark at the kids or whoever I was with. Again, barrels down. Don't point it at anybody. Because if it goes off accidentally, you can't wish that hole back. Because these bullets will go right through you. This is a story about one of the biggest secrets kept in Apple. I mean, they launched it and they didn't really tell anybody. But they have a special deal now. Now, I saw something only 5 days left. I think I only have 3 days left now. Where you open up the area where you, I guess I'll show you. So you come over here to settings. And then you touch where it says, got to go to full screen mode or you're not going to be able to see anything. There, full screen mode. And in the very top left, you see where it says my name, Jim Wilson, Apple account manager, and more. And then all right, let's click on this 13-inch iPad Pro. There you go. I think this is where I want to be. See, Apple Care and Warranty. I want to touch that thing. And let's see what pops up. So, you know, I can upgrade my coverage to Apple Care 1. And so if I press upgrade, then you can combine all your devices under one big plan. Rather than have, I mean, if we go to the Apple devices, Apple Care Warranty. I have to go back from here, yeah. Let me go back. So, you know, look at all these devices. Now, every one of these things, I've got under a separate account for, you know, the Apple Care coverage. It extends the warranty, you know, so you get past 90 days, you get full support. You get past 2 years, you still get support up to, I think, at least 3, sometimes 4 years, depending on the item. But you look at all of them. Let's see. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17 different items that I have protected with Apple Care. You wonder why all these little items come through. So now they'll all be billed under one thing. So that was pretty important. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do that right after I have a little bite to eat. So we've had a good day here. We've done a little SpaceX stuff. I hope that kept your attention. As you know, I always close out these broadcasts. I got to go back to the day. It's Friday. It's the 1st. And we're going to say bye-bye. Yeah, we're going to shut this sucker down because it's time that we went to the restroom. And then get yourself in front of a large screen display so you can watch Crew 11 blast off to the space station. Now, it takes them until 3 or 4 a.m. tomorrow to actually get to the space station, you know, because they blast off, they have another rocket launch. And the booster is going to land back at the Kennedy Space Center. That's the plan. Which, to me, that's magical. That they figured. I have friends of mine, you know, the people that I know, put it that way, that that currently work at NASA. And every time one of those rocket engines, one of those boosters lands itself back where it took off, the NASA people all hide their heads in shame that they weren't doing that for all these years. And SpaceX figured out how to do that boost back burn business and flip that sucker around and land it back where it took off from. So they can keep reusing those boosters. That's a $40-50 million device. NASA's been letting them just splash in the ocean goodbye. Well, it's easy to do that when it's taxpayer money. But Elon Musk looked at him and said, "Hey, land that sucker back at the base. I want to use it again." And they figured out, how to maneuver, the boosters so it would basically fly itself with, a lot of very careful software control, of course, back to where it launched from, because we want to use that for another launch, in a couple of weeks. It takes them about a couple of weeks to clean it up and test all the engines and, get it ready for the next launch. Now, they got a number of these rockets, and, the Falcon 9 configuration. So they have quite a few of those, and then they have the Falcon 9 Heavy, where they have two more cylinders basically attached on either side of it, which has another 9. So you got 27 Merlin engines going at once. They call that Falcon Heavy. And then Elon came up with this new design that they're using that houses 33 Raptor engines for their Mars ship. They call it the ship. Yeah. I think there's, because they got lots of time to think about this, but I think they're making a big mistake creating anything on Mars. It's not a friendly environment. You got, it's got an atmosphere of CO2, carbon dioxide. How strange is that? So Earth is covered with an atmosphere of basically nitrogen, oxygen, and then 5 or 6 other gases that are in the air that we all breathe here on Earth. Mars, carbon dioxide. Well, we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. So that's on the wrong end of what we need. So I don't know whether they're planning on living underneath the surface of Mars, because there's so many tunnels and things, underneath the Mars skin. And I don't know enough about the Mars geology part. There's 2 signals being broadcast here. There's the one I'm talking, and then there's another one that basically tells you what's going to go on with the, which mission is going to be stored in the cabin next to mine, underground thingy. Hey, it works. All right, so I'm going to see you later. It's 11:37. It's time. Get ready to go to lunch, all right? Marilyn's getting ready to go to, her lunch with the Friday Rotary has their weekly meeting. noon until about 1:30 or so. And we're going to say adios, amigo. So I wish you a very nice afternoon. Have a nice weekend. I'll be probably yakking at you tomorrow morning, and we'll pick up and see where the space, where the Dragon capsule is. We'll find a live feed on where that is. I think it's got like a 37-hour mission, to get to the space station. So that's like a day and a half. So tomorrow morning we'll see where it is. As it, the rocket is actually going to take off from the Kennedy Space Center and head, northeast. So it's heading towards Boston, put it that way. So it can catch up to the space station, which is in an orbit around Earth. So it'll go around Earth and catch up to the space station. Yeah. So I had to take off in that direction. So that's how the space station is, I guess, going in that kind of orbit. All right, guys. Have a great day.